All right, so we got a great friend here, Anthony Lamacchia, a very respected business person in the area. And, I've gotten to know Anthony a little bit over the last, 6 months or so, and I've really come to respect him and everything that he's doing. So we're super happy to have you on.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for saying that. I appreciate you guys having me. I'm like really impressed. I mean, I've been doing videos and on TV for 19 years, and I don't have a studio that looks this good. So
yeah,
this is pretty sick.
Yeah, awesome studio.
And impressed with you guys as well, seriously. It's been great
that.
to get to know you and your brothers, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I actually remember seeing, I've heard of you, I've known of you for years, being in just real estate, looking, at properties and stuff. And I remember seeing signs and billboards like everywhere for years,
Same.
You ask anybody around if you've heard of Lamacchia, and everyone has. So that says something,
Well, thank you. That'll make my dad smile. He's like obsessed with branding and, big believer in all that. And I watched him do it as a kid in, Newton and Brookline, mainly Newton. And I just set my sights on a bigger geography, but the same principles.
Yeah.
So
was your dad, did you grow up in a family business when you were younger?
Yeah. So I grew up doing landscape construction with my dad, just landscaping, cutting lawns, raking leaves, trimming bushes every summer, getting poison ivy, getting thorns in my hands, my sides. But it toughened me up, that's for sure. But I grew up doing that with my dad. And then by the time I got to very early teen years, even 12 years old, we were starting to do patios, and I was very obsessed with figuring out how to install them and kind of take the company into construction. And that was in the middle 90s. And we pulled it off and worked with him for several years. It's kind of a joke among some of my friends that I'm the only 44-year-old with 30 years business experience, because I literally started so young. And luckily my dad gave me the opportunity to do a lot of things at a young age in business. And I remember being in high school, and we didn't have cell phones then. And I had a pager, and the guys would page me. They'd be like, "Hey," and I'd call them on a cell phone, or maybe they had a cell phone and I didn't. And they'd be like, "All right, we finished this job." I'm like, "You finished already?" "Yeah, we want to go to the next job." Call my dad. He's like, "Oh, I'm tied up on estimates." This is 98, 99. And I'd be like, "All right, I'll go." I'd sneak out of school, go meet the guys, take them to their next job, show them what to do with the next job, run back to school.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was.
It sounds like you.
Yeah,
it sounds
what you're saying is
like
exactly
you.
like my upbringing.
Really?
Same.
Really?
I was next to my dad the whole way through,
Yeah.
and he was in construction, and old school Italian dad. And I wasn't just working as a laborer. But at the same time, I was able to. He gave me the opportunity to learn true business from a young age, from age 12, 13, 14. I was going to city hall meetings with city engineers, planning boards, because he used to do municipal work.
Yeah.
And I would sit next to him and sometimes speak with him at that age, It was awesome.
That's really cool to hear, and it makes me, even more interested in meeting your dad. And I bet my dad would love to meet him, but you don't realize it at the time. And I know you agree.
Oh.
You don't, I distinctly remember being in a meeting with a banker, and he was the CEO of a bank, a credit union in Waltham. I was probably 17, and it was in the summer. And we went and met with them, and my dad's like, "Hey, you're coming with me to this meeting." And I'm sitting there in the chair, and they're talking about lending and borrowing money. And you don't realize at the moment how lucky you are at that age to be in that situation. But now I look back, and people are like, "How do you have so much experience? Do you go to college?" I'm like, "I barely graduated from high school. I was a disaster in school. I just, anything right under the line of drugs or police, I did. So as long as it wasn't drug use or getting in trouble with the police, those two I didn't do, but everything under that, I did.
Everything below.
Oh, I was
But
terrible.
that's a common thread. Every single person we have on the show, that's the thread. Yeah. It's they're a C student or below. They didn't give a shit about school. They all the extracurricular stuff, but they never were good students. Right? Out of the 50 people we interviewed, maybe one or two were good students.
Yeah. I mean,
were they founders? I'm curious, because the founders are usually not good.
yes, it's the
All
founders.
founders.
Big companies or small?
8-figure plus, 8 or 9 figure plus.
Okay.
All across the board. I mean,
Because that's an exception to the rule.
Yeah.
It is. And I'm not criticizing them. I mean,
Yeah.
I tell my kids they better do good in school.
Yeah, exactly.
And my aunt, my grandfather's younger sister, she's 81 now. She's going to hear this and get mad that I said her age. But, I mean, she literally laughs at me when I tell I yell at my kids to do good in school. She's like, you were a disaster.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, because her brother, my grandfather, and my grandmother raised me, and my dad, I basically had 3 parents.
Yep.
And but anyway, I think that's super interesting that you did that with your dad, and you immediately picked up on like he did the same thing.
immediate.
Yeah,
And I remember going on like estimates with my dad. Like he'd go out to bid jobs, and I'm like walking around. I mean, I remember being with him so young, I was holding his hand on estimates. Like think about that.
Yeah.
Like we'd be in Brookline and Cleveland Circle. He'd be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go meet with these people about taking over the maintenance of the house," and we'd walk around. I'd hold his hand.
Yep.
And I look back, I'm like, I was lucky.
Same. And I remember at the time being so pissed because like all my summers were working, working construction.
Yeah.
And it would never, they didn't really get pulled into it as much as I did. And I remember being like so like resentful and pissed all the time.
Yeah.
But looking back on it,
You were lucky.
Super lucky.
100%.
Everything.
Dad
Yeah.
was just fish bowling butts. Those Marlboro Reds.
Yeah.
Was just fish bowling butts, like flipping out at jobs, like bids and shit. And then you were just like sitting next to him.
Yeah,
like,
no, there was this one time I remember like driving back. I'll never forget. It was in a Ford F-150, like single cab.
the white one.
Yeah. Remember the
yeah.
white one? I think you crashed it into
that's mine.
into the garage. Yeah. And it was a stick shift, so like a big stick, windows all the way up, raining as hard as it could possibly rain with like the windshield wipers going like crazy, with an espresso in one hand, smoking a blunt in the other, with the windows up, me in the passenger seat, and on the phone, screaming at somebody on the phone on the highway.
With doing stick shift.
On stick shift, just screaming. And I'm like, oh my God. And at one point, I was doing the shifting with my left hand
For him.
because like he would be in third gear and it would be like,
yeah.
and then he would hit the
RPMs
thing
going
and
crazy.
I'm bringing it down to fourth.
Was that the Cohasset job?
Yeah, it was one of those.
I have like names of the jobs I remember, like the New Bedford, the Cohasset, the
Yeah.
Middleton, like those phases of my life. That's all we would hear.
Exactly. But I think I probably must have been like 14.
Yeah, that's so similar to how it was for me. And at a younger age than that, my dad, I mean, he's proud of it. We're all proud of him in the family. Like he hasn't had a beer in 34 years, but he didn't miss a day of having a beer in his years before that. And I remember driving on the Pike with him because there was 2.5 years we lived in Hopkinton, and we're driving on the Pike, and he would hand me his beer. I'm in the front seat, and I would hide it at the toll booth. And then we'd go through the toll booth. I'd give it back to him, and he'd be like, and he'd be drinking the beer. And I look back, and I'm like, wow, that's fucked up. Like, now I look back, like, Jesus,
Jeez, Dad, what the fuck were you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I
A
didn't
road
want-
soda. It's just a road soda.
Yeah. And I look back, I'm like, holy shit, like, Jesus.
So what made you make the jump? Like the normal path would be, you
Yeah.
keep growing with the dad's company,
So I got out of high school. I graduated high school in June of 2000, and I worked with my dad like 3 years, like nonstop, full time, and we grew the company a lot. I mean, we took it from 5, 6, 7 guys to 30 guys, and we were doing way more jobs in construction and all that. And it was hard to work together. I was at the time I'm 20 years old, 19, 20, 21, 22. I think I know everything, right? And my dad's only 22 years older than me. Mm-hmm. And at the time, he's like 44, 45, my age now. And we would clash. And, I'm obviously a very alpha male, and he is too. And I want to do my own thing and blaze my own trail. And I started working so young. I saved money very young. And my grandfather taught me to do that. He was an accountant. He taught me bookkeeping and P&Ls and all that when I was 12 years old. Was the first time I read a P&L, like the old handwritten ones. And I did think about starting my own landscaping company, but I couldn't stomach the thought of competing with my dad.
Oh my God, that would have been a nightmare.
I felt bad. Yeah, I was like, I can't do it. And then I started buying properties. I flipped a couple condos and I kept one of them to rent. And then I bought a 3-family in Worcester. And I kept dabbling in real estate, making a little money here, a little money there, but I was learning a lot. And then I was like, geez, I should be a realtor. And then I got a real estate license, and I did both from 2004 to May 2006. I was full-time in real estate, full-time working with my dad, like 2 full-time jobs, 40, 50 hours a week each in both. And I remember working with my dad all morning, and then I'd go show homes all afternoon, and then at night I'd be I was trying to build a real estate database, so I would manually enter everybody I knew into this database so that I could mail them postcards. And I remember doing it literally to the point of like 10 o'clock at night. I'd walk 10 feet to my bed in the next room, go to sleep, get up the next morning at 5, go landscape all morning and repeat. And it was a long 20 months. Like, it was hard. And Then I finally cut the cord and left, and that didn't go over so great with Dad.
Yeah.
There was about a year or two there that it was awkward for him and I. We banged heads a bit, but he ended up accepting it and became my biggest cheerleader. And to this day, he knows all the big stuff that I do with the company. He knows, if we're acquiring someone, if there's something I'm thinking of doing or not doing, we talk all the time. I tell him the good, I tell him the bad, and it worked out. But there was Italian hardcore dad. It was a rocky spot to be in at that time. And then I just started selling one home at a time. Then it was, 2 homes a week. Then it was 3 homes a week. Then it was hire more people. And,
And here we are.
Yeah.
But
I got a quick question.
Go ahead.
How different was it to build a business back then in the early 2000s? Because this is before technology and shit, right? Like 2003, like you're talking completely different than now. It's not like social media,
Right.
these new age realtors compared to that age of building a business. What was the biggest difference? You think?
Well, and also doing business was different. Like now, all our agents, they have dot loop.
Yeah, right.
Every offer they send out is manually, DocuSign and all. We didn't have that. We used to just write the offers, handwritten, fax them. And when the fax was just getting popular then. And at that time, we would write the offer and fax it, and the older realtors were like, "Oh, this fax thing's amazing! Like, I've got one at my house now." And I was like, "Yeah." And then I had one at my house. Yeah, it was like a thing. I was a little less impressed with it as the older agents were, but you're right. Like, it was different then, and I really depended on direct mail. And frankly, I still like direct mail. I think it works.
You do, huh?
100%. Yeah, it definitely works. To what extent, it depends on your message, it depends on your timing and all that, but I'm a believer in direct mail 100%. So I would mail, my sphere of influence once a month. I'd mail like a lot of the customers from the landscape company, which I'd say in the end that probably didn't pay off because to them, I was Joe's kid, the landscaper.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I got some business from it, but how much did I really get?
Yep.
It's kind of tough to tell a luxury home seller in Newton at 22 years old, 23, 24 years old, I can totally sell your $3 million listing. And they're looking at me like, last year you were putting in my patio. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I did get some business, but not as much as I would have liked.
Put the mic a little
Closer? Okay.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Even in another business that I did before, once you're known for like one thing,
Oh, dude.
it's hard to try to switch it.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you were the landscaper, you can't just become, like in his case, just the realtor. Like
Right.
you have to go all in. Someone's not going to trust someone who's half one way, half another. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm going to trust my realtor, he has to be 100% in real estate.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so glad you said that because that exact phrase that you just said, or I've said it in almost the exact same words. I say people see people as one thing.
100%.
And I've had that exact conversation with our realtors. And I'm like, guys, when you're starting in this game and you're part-time because you've got another job, I get it. I did that for 20 months.
Right.
But do not go on Facebook or Instagram and say, working at the bar tonight, come on down. Because now you just told your whole sphere, who all week you posted about real estate, but now you just told them all I'm working at a bar tonight.
Right.
First thought in their head, they're not going to tell you, but the first thought in their head is you ain't selling that many homes if you got to work at a bar.
Exactly.
And whether that's true or not,
Right.
that's what they're going to think until you're way down the line. Like, I mean, I could go on Instagram and say that I sell food with you guys and they'd still know I'm in real estate.
Right.
But that took me 20 years. Like, you're not going to pull that off in the first couple of years.
Right.
And for the record, I'm not getting into the food business.
But it's
Smart man.
it's all a branding play. It's like people realize that especially in real estate, you're your own brand. If you want to be known as the realtor, and there's so many realtors, you have to be the first thing that comes up in that person's head when they open their phone. They think that they need a realtor. You have to be like, oh, clearly it's Anthony because he posts all the time. He's kicking ass. But if you're, like he said, posting at the bar, posting fucking being a realtor one day a week and doing something else the other day a week, you're not going to be the first person that comes to your mind when you do need that service.
And keep in mind, it's not just your sphere. It's also if you're working on a lead and they Google you because they're going to, and they see you're working at a bar 2 days before. They're like, wait, what? And my dad referred, because you just said it's about branding. My dad refers to that as top of mind awareness. TOMA.
100%.
TOMA. You have to develop TOMA. You want to be the first person that people think about when they think about food needs. I want to be the first person they think of when they think of real estate needs, whether it's a realtor looking for a company or a seller or a buyer, right?
100%. That's
Exactly.
100%. And with our industry, with meal prep, it's the same thing, but It's like all industries across the board, but especially like the self-independent ones like realtors and things like that.
Yeah.
You have to be top of mind.
Yeah, I mean, and you were doing marketing like when it was like old school, like marketing, right?
I still do some old school
I
marketing.
know. I see your billboards.
Yeah.
I see. That could be considered old school right now, I guess.
Yeah.
Or traditional, I would say, more traditional rather than old.
We have
school.
over 40 up in Massachusetts right now, all on
40?
major highways.
Crazy.
And then we
Dude.
probably have maybe it's 30, and then we have 3 or 4 in Connecticut, 2 or 3 in Florida, 3 or 4 in New Hampshire, a couple in Rhode Island.
Wow.
And as we grow in those states, we just pour it in. You know Herb Chambers?
Yes.
Everybody knows
Introduced,
Herb, right?
yeah.
I was telling my son last night, I've met Herb probably 8 times. All 8 times. I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing. Don't stop. Don't stop. Make sure you keep advertising. Don't stop. So he tells me that every time.
Really?
He just sold his
he's a-
company for $1.3 billion.
He's a
know, I
big
saw
billboard
that.
guy. But his billboards are interesting.
Yeah.
They're very like simple. And they're like, ooh, like I don't know. You have to be really creative with billboards, I feel like.
So are his. His are they're simple.
Yeah.
The name is there. Like
Yeah. So him and I talked about that actually a bit without spilling his beans. But remember, he's like 40 years in. They had to do some like catchphrases,
Right.
and he needed to mix it up a little because like just seeing Herb Chambers was sort of like white noise to people. And I will tell you, in certain markets like Worcester, I think that's happening to us a little bit. Like people are so used to seeing Lamacchia Realty billboards on 290 that it's like,
They're fatigued. It's like
they don't even see it because they're used to seeing it. And I have to
spice it up.
Yeah, and I notice like no one says anything anymore. But then when we do them in a new market, like we opened in Newburyport and Amesbury, and we put some, like they don't have them right there, but we put them like north of there and south of there. Everybody mentioned it. You know, we opened in the Berkshires right when you get off of the Mass Pike. We have a billboard, people mentioning it. So new markets, it's just there's so much to learn.
how are you measuring ROI on those? Just mentions and
Yeah,
brand
and
recognition?
that and is there a true direct response, easy way to measure it? No, there's not. There's not. But I know that it works. I mean, we can tell. Like
You
we
could see
can,
a lift.
well, and in recruiting. Because remember, I have 2 audiences that I have to worry
Right.
about. I have to worry about realtors, and I have to worry about home buyers, home sellers, and in many places, landlords and tenants too.
Right.
Right? So it's interesting.
Yeah. It's. I mean, just so you understand, like 40 billboards and like that's
Yeah.
a huge
Huge budget, too.
Huge
Yeah.
budget. Especially in those prime
Expensive.
locations.
I'll tell you though, it's not as expensive as it was 3 or 4 years ago. Now that the economy slowed down in the last few years, that's what I do. I mean, without giving away too many, Realtor.com and Zillow.
Yeah.
We were in with them big, buying leads from them, 2013 to 18. Right around 2018, our head of sales and we started getting grumpy with them. They were getting a little too pushy. They didn't believe we'd bail. We said to Zillow, we're good.
Really?
Yeah, we did. We were the number 1 spender in New England. We backed out. And someone there will probably see this, so I'm going to watch my words. Realtor.com, same thing 6 months later. Everybody and their mother was buying up their leads because the market was getting hot, 19, 20, 21, 22. 3 years ago right now, we experienced the largest interest rate increase in a 17-day period in like 40 years.
Right.
Right now. It was May 23rd to June 10th. Today's the 10th, I think, right?
Right.
When that happened, I knew other real estate companies were going to back out buying leads from them. So I sat still. I waited. That fall, I heard from someone at those companies. Then I heard people were bailing out on contracts. So one of those companies, I reached out. I said, "Hey, heard you guys have a lot of people bailing. Let's talk." So I try to go where everyone isn't going.
Yeah, that's
like,
awesome.
and then we went back in. Now, no one spends more on those, particularly with Realtor.com with us, because I know it works. And is it working as good as it did when the market was on the ride up from 2013 to 18 and not every realtor was doing it? No, it's not. The return's nothing like it used to be. But is it enough that I'm like, I'm going to buy it, I'm going to stick it out because I know when the market comes back, it's going to do great? Yes. And that's what a lot of people don't do. Same with billboards. Like, market went bad 3 years ago and really slowed down. The amount of sales transactions slowed down. And I'm like, all right, we're going to cut costs here, 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 and here. But we're going to hit the gas with online leads and we're going to hit the gas with billboards because I knew I could buy the billboards for a better rate, which wasn't 3 years ago. It was about 2 years ago that we increased them.
Yeah,
Right.
that interesting was a crazy thing when they increased like that. It really like put the brakes on the sales as soon as that happened.
With you guys too? Or?
No, just in general, like in the real estate
Home
market,
sale.
just like as an observer. But what about, because you were a realtor in the 2008 crash.
Yeah.
Talk about that
This is
experience.
slower.
Really?
Yeah, this is so statistically speaking, they're pretty close to one another as far as total sales per month or per year. The amount of sales that happened in the United States in 2023 and 24 was actually less than 2008. It was like 100,000 or so less sales. Okay.
Holy shit.
Oh yeah, no. This is a serious housing recession, like slow as could be. The difference in the reason people are more aware of it then is prices went down.
Right,
then.
that's what I was gonna say.
Right, that's what I was
Prices.
gonna say,
There was so much for sale that prices were collapsing. That's not happening this time.
Right.
And the reason it's not is there's a lack of homes for sale. That is actually finally changing right now. I did a post on my personal Facebook and LinkedIn on Sunday morning, and I said multiple offers, bidding wars, etc.
I saw that post.
Did you
Yeah,
see it?
yes.
And now, don't get me wrong. There's still pockets like where we have an office in Connecticut. There's still particularly low inventory. There's still some of that. You get close to Boston, there's still some of that, but it's evaporating everywhere. By the time we get to mid-fall, unless someone dramatically underprices their home, I shouldn't say dramatically, underprices their home, you're not going to see that. So we're in an adjustment now, but the amount of homes for sale, I mean, it's slow. Like, just to give you numbers, 2024, about 60,000 homes sold in Massachusetts. The average annually for the last 30 years is 93,000.
Holy shit.
Whoa.
Wow.
People don't realize it.
That's fucking crazy.
It's crazy.
Wow.
The United States, last year, 4 million home sales. The average is 5.3 million. And truthfully, I don't even believe it was 4. I don't believe it. I think it was less.
What because you're in multiple markets, which is a whole other conversation we
Yeah.
could probably get into. Do you see a difference in Florida compared to Massachusetts,
Oh, yeah.
Massachusetts compared to New Hampshire compared to like how is it
So
affecting?
So think about this. When a market goes bad, when an economy goes bad, what's the first house people let go of? Their first house, their
Vacation
primary.
home.
Thank you. Second home.
Yeah.
So we started seeing this happen down in Florida 2 years ago. Remember the Surfside Tower collapse, the Champlain Tower
that
in
was
northern
fucking
Miami?
crazy.
Dude, nuts.
It's going to happen again
So
in a different building for sure.
I don't know. They're regulating the shit out of everything.
Well, the old buildings because they're not going to revamp it.
Well, no, they're for HOAs are like that's what's happening right now down there. Like HOAs are forcing these huge, I forget what they're
Developments.
calling them, but no, they're these huge renovations to existing buildings, and then people are getting smashed with these huge bills.
I
right?
can explain it. So
Yeah.
that happens in Florida. What happens? Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, which back every 60% of the loans in the nation, say, whoa, we're not going to back the paper unless they've had the proper amount of maintenance done, unless there's the proper amount of money in reserves. Because the problem with condos is people think when they own a condo, they only have to give a shit about what's inside the four walls. No, you own a fractional percentage of the entire building. And the attitude of a lot of condo owners is, I don't want to spend money if it's not inside my four walls. That's why that happened. When that happened, God rest their souls, it's so sad what happened. But I remember I was in Florida, in Fort Myers, and my uncle said to me, you know how condos work. Whose fault is this? I said, well, if I had to guess, the owners. Because I can't tell you, this is part of why we got out of property management. We have owners, we had owners that are like, I don't want to spend the money. It's like, well, you can't keep putting off maintenance. You
Right.
can't keep doing that. So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, which is one and the same, they said, you need to have the proper amount in reserves. You need to make sure you're caught up with maintenance. And oh, by the way, every 30 years, a building needs to have a complete structural review. Insurance companies said similar things, a little stricter. The state of Florida put their own law in place. They said you have to have the proper amount of reserves by December 31st, 2024. When that went into play, it was at a time, and it wasn't, the date didn't kick in yet, but it was like 18 months or 2 years out. A lot of the owners in Florida were cocky because they just went through 4 or 5 years of everything selling immediately. We got to say, if we're short on our reserves, everybody throw in 10 grand. Everybody throw in 30 grand. Well,
that's
if you're,
what you saw, yeah.
dude, if you're a 60-year-old owner,
Right.
you can throw in 30 grand. Well, imagine our kids, right? I got 4 kids. My daughter's 17 and a half. In 5 years, if she owns a condo and they say, hey, Ava, you got to throw 30 grand in, she's going to be like, what?
Yeah.
Where's she going to get
What-
it?
What?
Yeah, exactly.
You can call me, right?
Right.
So my point is, they did that. That happened all over the place. So that's why condos across America are getting hit, but Florida in particular is getting hit harder. So we already saw inventory going up there, properties sitting, sellers, overplaying their hand with their list price. Now we're seeing it here. And there's still some multiple offers, but it's dissipating. And now we're going to go through some period of time, I suspect probably the rest of this year and all of next year, where sellers are going to get a gut check, buyers have power back.
Yeah.
It'll reset a new equilibrium. Prices won't go up. Maybe prices will even go down a few points. Do I think they're going to go down 20%? No. There's not enough inventory. Right now, there's 11,000 homes for sale in Massachusetts. Right now, this time of year, 2008, there were 47,000 homes for sale.
Holy shit.
So anybody that says, it's going to be like '08, I'm like, no, it's not. Do I think that we're in for some adjustment and it's necessary? Yes. Do I think a year from now we could be at 18 or 20,000 homes for sale? Yes, but we're not at 47,000.
Right.
And there's major differences in the system between then and now. Then there wasn't as much equity. They were giving mortgages to people that didn't deserve them. That's not the case now.
Right. Here, people are locked into low interest rates, so they don't necessarily have to sell. Right.
Yeah, that's a big
Correct.
thing. During COVID, they refinanced.
Right. Exactly.
That's the biggest part of the problem is everybody's addicted to low rates. And then you get people like my dad and probably yours.
Mm-hmm.
The rates aren't high. I'm like,
Oh, yeah, because they were like, in 1990 it was 18%. Yeah,
my dad says it. I explain it every month. He says it again every month. I said, Dad, I hear you if you compare the two numbers. But if you study the 1970s, early 1970s to 1981, rates were like 7% to 11% by the time you got to 80. So when rates went to 18, 19%, they were nearly double where they came from. Our rates were 2.6, 2.8, 3%. They went to 8.
Right.
We nearly tripled this time.
Right.
And if you measure the cost of living, average incomes, and average home sale price, what's happened as far as affordability goes is worse this time than in the early 80s. But
100%.
go over that with my dad and yours.
Exactly.
They don't believe
Exactly.
it.
Give a shit.
When the houses was like 70 grand, and I know it was relative then, but it's affordability is a completely different animal.
Correct.
With the rates.
Correct. Yeah,
A
and-
small bump in rates with the $1 million house is a huge difference.
I mean, people buying $800,000 houses, and their payments are $8,500, $9,000 a month.
I know.
That's insane. Even car payments, dude.
Oh, it's nuts.
It's all the same shit. It's like a $40,000 car is like $900 a month. It's like, since fucking when?
So if you're a first-time home buyer right now, what do you say to them? Like, because everyone's waiting for some kind of price dip or somebody to tell them to do something,
Right.
Well,
and nobody knows what to do.
Good question. So the first-time buyers that can afford it, I mean, do the best you can, buy the best you can. I'll tell you this, we're coming into the best time of year to buy a home. I mean, I've been saying it on the news since 2011, but only 10% of people listen to me. Buying a home in the second part of the year, in particular in the fall, is a way better time of year to buy a home than the first part of the year. Buying a home, February to May, I mean, you're competing with everybody. And that's why you see the multiple offer situations. Early part of the year, there's way more buyers than there are sellers. Second part of the year, there's more sellers than there are buyers,
Interesting.
especially a year like this. The last few years, it's been equal.
I always thought like buyers came out in the summer.
No, they
Depends the market.
Buyers come out in droves January 1st.
I see.
And they're way impatient. And we're up here in New England where lots of sellers are like, oh, no, list my house till the snow goes away. Well, you should, because my favorite month when we flip homes and all that to sell a home, February. Best month of the year to list a home. Probably the worst month of the year to buy a home.
Right.
But no one listens to me.
What would you give advice to a seller who's trying to sell their home to get the best price? Is it landscaping? Is it adding like what features of the home right now is getting the best value in New England specifically?
Well, I mean, nothing's more important to the buyer than kitchens and baths.
Yeah.
I mean, kitchens and baths is a huge thing. But hiring the right company to list your home, not just hiring any Joe Blow realtor. I mean, this is the only business I've ever seen where people will just hire someone that I know him. Well, him doesn't have more than 2 sales in their life and you're hiring them, it's crazy to me. But hiring the right agent, hiring the right company, we're getting back to a market. This is actually why I'm really excited about the market we're coming into. Sellers are going to start giving a shit again about the brokerage that's hired.
Yep.
So
true.
some of these realtors that have left companies like mine or take Sotheby's, another great brand, and they're like, I'm going to Joe Blow Real Estate. They're going to give me 2% more. Okay, well, they have 3 people. They have no marketing power online. We have people that call our office and email our branch offices 7 days a week, 365. Hi, I want to buy a home. Hi, I need help selling a home. That doesn't happen to every company.
No.
I mean, we have people that call nearly every day for Florida that are up here. And we've only been in Florida 4.5 years. So, you try to compete with a company like ours that's buying all kinds of leads, producing leads. It's hard. And now, that stuff that didn't matter because inventory was so low and people could just list with anyone, now it's starting to matter again.
So true
and
that
I
you're
love
saying that, because I remember when we were trying to sell a house in 21 or something like that. I'm like, why do we even need we can just put it on.
That's what happens.
And anybody will buy it. It's like everything's a bidding war. It doesn't matter what,
Yeah.
But now, to your point, it's like back to the fundamentals. Like who's doing it right, who's marketing right, who has the biggest buyer pool, most data, who
has the most reach online, who has contracts with Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com that can get the properties boosted up so they pop up first when buyers log online. These are all these little things people don't think about when you take a town like Watertown in February. Last February of 24 or the February before 23, there were 2 homes for sale in February.
Wow.
When there's 2 homes for sale, you can list with anybody and you'll sell. Now, you might not sell for more. You might not sell for a premium, but you'll sell. And the seller doesn't know the difference.
Do you think there's going to be a big consolidation?
There already
Your
is.
company's eating the smaller.
Oh, it's happening. We bought 10 companies in the last 18 months.
Usually when that happens, you see a lot of consolidation, even in the solar world. It's like there's just big
100%.
companies that are just going to be eating the smaller companies.
And it's happening right now. Yeah. And you know what's funny? And I'm not interested in talking politics, but when Trump got elected in November, a ton of owners that I was talking to about buying them were like, Trump got back in. I think he's going to fix it. I'm going to wait. And now that we're 4 months into it, 5 months into it, and people are like, shit, he's not going to be able to fix this in like a month or two. Like this is
it's a bigger issue.
Some of them are calling me back now. So it's interesting how people.
The price changed now, motherfucker.
Yeah, price went up.
Yeah, right. But one thing I've pointed out, in just to criticize both sides, is like, I remember when Obama came in, hope and change, we the people. He comes in, worst stock market in the last 40 years was 2 months after he came in at the end of March 2009. Trump comes in a year ago, Trump saying, I'm going to fix things in 2 months. Then it was, I'm going to fix things in a month. Then it was, I'm going to fix things in a half an hour.
Right, exactly.
Right? He comes in, worst stock market we've seen in 5 years was the first week in April.
Right.
So it's like, I don't care who gets elected from which side. It takes time to fix things.
Right.
And that's what we're seeing.
Yeah.
So you brought up an interesting point. So you've acquired 10 companies in the last 18 months. Has that been a big part of your growth strategy?
Yeah.
Acquisitions?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I planned it for a long time and knew that when the market changed, we would pounce. But acquisitions have been phenomenal. I mean, it's the best way to grow. I mean, you grow the fastest with it, and we learned some tough things along the way. I mean, I always say, like, don't believe everything you see on Facebook or Instagram or, it's we put the wins out. We don't post the losses, but it's been tremendous. I mean, I just take May, for example. The amount of properties that we put pending in May was 780. So that's 780 contracts that got signed in May.
Wow.
That's 51% more than we had signed last May.
Whoa.
Wow. Oh, baby.
51%. So
In
our
this
revenue,
market.
our revenue this month is going to be 50% more than it was last June in this market.
In this market,
and that's acquisitions. You leapfrog.
So how is it like? You're acquiring a new team, a new company, right? And then you're folding them into your culture.
Yep.
Right. Because I know culture is a big thing.
Oh, in our business especially.
Your business and within your company.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things I really admire about your company is the culture. And I was telling these guys the other day, I've met like probably 20 realtors over the last, I don't know, X amount of years that work for Lamacchia.
Yeah.
And every single one of them talks about you like you are like the best leader, best boss, like great culture, great training. That's very difficult to do at scale.
Yeah, it is.
With realtors and, offices all over the place. Like, it's impressive.
Well, thank you for saying that, and you can repeat it if you want. But yeah, we try hard, and I certainly try as hard as I can to maintain a good culture. And how do we do it? I think being very present is important. Every Wednesday that I am in town, I'm training.
You're doing the training.
Yeah, at least some of it, at least an hour. Like tomorrow, I'm doing an hour and a half, and I'm excited to. Like, I love our people. Like, we can't do what we do in this business without the people. It's not possible. I just told you 51% growth in May in pending sales, new contracts. We couldn't do that without a bunch of new people,
Right.
Great people adding to our already, our stable of already great people. But you have to be present and you can't get lazy. And especially when you're in a market like this, like 4 years ago, everybody was flying, everybody was busy, everybody was happy. Yeah. And now we're in a time that not everybody's happy. Right. Like, our industry has been really getting hit. And being present, being there for people, helping them when they have problems is how you keep a good culture. And the other way you keep a good culture is sometimes you got to tell people to leave.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's people that you don't want to tell to leave, but they're causing enough trouble that you're like, hey, look, I've warned you 3 times. Like, you don't cut it out, you got to leave.
Right.
And, that has a way of traveling.
Right.
And people realize, like, all right, I probably better behave here.
Right. They're not messing around. Yeah.
Yeah. And look at Belichick with the Patriots. I mean, how many Super Bowls he win? But every goddamn time he cut a player, well, what's he doing? Why did he do that? And then he won another Super Bowl. So it's not easy.
Right.
And it's not easy in a business like ours. We're in a business of talkers. Like, I'm not running a tech company where no one talks and they just text each other, right? I'm not running a law firm where everyone really methodically thinks about what they say and doesn't want to say anything offensive to put themselves in a bad situation. I'm running a company full of people that if they're good talkers, they're good at selling. Well, when you do that, that can work both ways for you,
right?
But to answer your question, be present, be there for them. Help as many people be successful as possible. Because success is the number one component to having a good culture.
Right.
If the people are successful, they're going to be happy. If they're happy, then they're more successful, and then they tell people about it.
Right.
If they're pissed, they'll do that too.
Right.
What are your tips right now to be successful in this market? Like, what is the top 10% earners that you have in your company doing to be successful? Is it referrals? Is it hammering the phones? Is it, I don't know, what kind of
all of the above.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was selling and now I'm running the company and building the company, the Boston Business Journal years ago did a story. They put me on the front page and they said, always on offense. Like, I'm always on offense. I'm always, like, the last 6 months, I spent more time in the intricate operations of our company that I have in 3.5 years. And we corrected a ton of shit. And, I'm creative and I'm like, no, we don't need to do that anymore. Let's fix this and that. But even during that, like, every day I make sure I talk to an owner at another company. Every day when I'm doing different things, I'll be like, wait, I'm getting way too bogged down in bullshit. Let me pull myself out. Like, I have a lot of self-awareness of my actions and my time. I'll give you an example. January 31st, I went to some legal thing. It didn't go the way I wanted. We since solved it, and we won, by the way. But I went to something in January, and I got aggravated, and I left there, and I called 2 people, and I bitched about what had happened. And I burnt like 35 minutes, and I started dialing the 3rd person to bitch. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing?
Right.
Like, what do I need to call another person and bitch about this for? And I said, I'm making recruiting dials. I called an owner, and then I called an existing agent in our company who I had heard was having a tough week. That's productive. Right. And that's the hardest. A lot of people get into business. My brother says this, and he's 100% right. He's the president of our family's landscape company. My brother says most people get in business because they want to have more freedom to screw off. That's not why I got in business. I got in business because I want to fucking dominate.
Right.
Like, that's all I want to do. I want to dominate everything I get involved in. I don't always dominate everything I get involved in, but that's my goal. And if you want to do that, you have to always be on offense. And you have to control yourself and control your emotions when you're in a tough time, which I generally do pretty good with, but there's times, I can fly off the handle too. I'm a human being, right? But always being on offense, always dialing, always doing things that will grow your business, and making sure you're doing those activities at least for some part of the day is important. Look at Chant Benosian, okay, our friend, a friend I grew up with. We grew up 2 streets apart, #1 mortgage broker in America, and now he's also the president of Rate Mortgage, right? You talk about a focused worker. I mean, dude, I'll tell you right now, he's next level. Like,
crazy, huh?
And he compliments me on how I can have like 10 things going on at once and I'm super organized. But I'll tell you what he beats me on is like his tunnel vision. I mean, dude, prior to taking the job as president, there was really only 3 people during the day in his personal life that could get a hold of him. Wow. His wife, his dad, and me.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because I go walk in his dog. Like, I'm not joking. The most focused person, like tunnel vision all day long. And then he says with me, I'm good at staying organized with 10 balls up in the air, but like, I admire how he has it, and you know what I mean, how he does it. And I think that's what people lose sight of. Like, that dude's doing most years over $1 billion in mortgage business. One year he did over 2021.
It's fucking crazy. By himself?
No, he's a savage.
That's insane.
And dude, I'll tell you right now, we'll be on the way to a Celtics game. We sat courtside together like 2 months ago. We're driving to the game. Someone calls needing help with a $300,000 mortgage. He's like, Calls him right up. Calls him right up. He don't care.
Super dialed.
And don't get me wrong, he has a team and all that, but I mean, him and I are like, people say like, what the hell is in the water? Because we grew up like 2 streets
Oh,
apart.
I didn't realize you guys grew up like.
Oh,
grew
yeah,
up
no, we've been
together.
friends since we were 10 years old.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And we played football together. He ran me over in a practice one time. He still talks about it.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Yeah, he is, but pound for pound, I beat him in weightlifting. So make sure to mention that to him.
I don't know. He sent that video the other day.
Dude, you see that?
I was that day. He sent a video of him benching 315
For 6.
for 6.
Pretty good. I did that when I was
Like
17.
smooth.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
I did.
Okay.
6 times?
Yeah.
I did it twice.
17. Yeah. I have a video.
Yeah. Okay. So me and Tino's we have like a bench competition.
the
I'm
difference is
impressed.
he told-
Whoa,
he
whoa, whoa.
told
What
me-
did you weigh?
I just think that's not
210.
true.
It's true. I have a
210.
video.
Not true.
I have a video.
Okay. Well,
I believe him.
Athletic
I can tell
Evolution.
he's telling the truth.
Yeah.
So you were 210.
Yeah.
I did 335 for 1. I weighed 170.
I did 225 for 29 when I was 19.
Wow.
I also
see, I always get screwed when
29.
they say like, "Well, how much do you weigh?" I'm like, "That doesn't count. You're laying on your back,
Dude,
Yeah,
you sound
of
like
course
John.
it counts,
Yeah.
dude.
You sound like, of course it fucking counts.
You're on your back. You're laying on your back. What is the difference?"
He called me. I was working out by myself, and he called me like, "Hey," he's like, "I just did this 27 times." I was at the end of my
37.
workout.
37.
No, 27, and then I did it 37.
No, dude.
No, I did it 40.
Well, I did 37. You did 40.
So
Hold
he
on,
This
called-
is last week.
I was at the end of my workout.
Who's telling the truth?
He's telling the truth. He's got the numbers right. It was Tino did 40.
Okay, I
You
just
did
did 37
37
reps at the gym of forget what the weight
And I was
was.
at the end of my workout. He was just starting, and he's like, "Hey, come over here. Like, you won't do this." And I did chest day. I was like, "Okay, dude." I was like, "How many do you want me to do?" He's like, "I don't know. Go till failure." And I got to 40. I'm like, is
Wait,
that it?
40, how much weight?
135, but at 40 straight.
135, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And he was like, "So go, that was pretty."
Oh
good.
yeah, well, I'm coming off of shoulder surgery.
Oh,
So we were
okay.
training.
Oh, Jesus.
we were training for like a bench off,
Yeah.
like a year and a half ago, and I had like 415 on the bench.
Wow.
getting ready
Like an idiot.
like an idiot, and I got it up, but I tore my
not worth it,
labrum,
dude.
my bicep.
Not worth it.
No,
It was
that's
worth
why I
it.
said, why? I said, let's do.
It was
lower
worth. It was
weight.
worth it.
Yeah,
Spoken like a true older brother.
Yeah,
exactly.
just whatever.
Dude, it's, I mean, but listen, it's a personality,
Right.
right? Like you guys, you're successful in business because you're pushing yourself weightlifting. It's the same disease that I have.
Yeah.
And it works in your favor a lot of times. But, you know, I had back surgery 12 months ago because I wanted to wrestle 3 days a week. I still do it, but I'm carefuler now. Wrestle with
back
my
is a tough thing,
dude,
Because it lingers.
L5, S1, out of control, sciatic nerve. One of my buddies, a cop, one's a firefighter. They both weigh 40, 50 pounds more than me. And like, you know, we're going at it every day. And then all of a sudden it's hurting me more. And I look back, I'm like, God, I should have been more careful, you know, but that's the personality. And it's like, there's pros and cons to it. And you really got to work to control it. And that's like where I think my grandfather comes in. Like he was such a like disciplined dude with everything. And he was all over me. So my dad sometimes will be like, there's my father coming out and my son, like, cause I dress like the part every day. And,
Yeah.
you know, I'm kind of strict with things and my dad's a nut, you know? But it's not easy. You know, you got to try to balance the crazy alpha with the trying to be methodical.
Yeah. Well, and our bodies aren't keeping up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No, I'm 44 years old.
right. I'll be 40 in a couple of months, and it's like next year. Like I used to do that weight, no problem. Next thing you know, my arm like like completely
flailing off your body.
flailing
Yeah.
off. You know, it's like our bodies aren't keeping up with our minds at this point.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
I get it.
Do you think that your competitive mindset is what made you want to scale to like Florida and like some of these other states? Because a lot of people would, okay, I'm killing it in this market. I'm going to keep going in this market and I'm going to own this market. But then you were like, there was something that came up and you're like, you know what? Fuck it. Let me go to Florida. Let me go to.
So
these other
it
markets.
was. So you're 100% right that my competitive attitude contributes at least in part to everything we do. Right, like where I'm like, I want to go for more. I want more market share. But Florida, we did talk about for a long time. That was not a 1 minute decision, and it's still our number one outgoing market. So about 10% of our business, which last year was nearly 5,000 sales, we did 500 of them with a relocation. There were people that are moving out of state and we helped them relocate. And actually it was probably way more than that. But the ones that actually go through our relocation department was close to 500 sales. Well, the number one place that we sell people homes, we sell their homes and they move to is Florida. And it's been the case for years. And when COVID hit, that went like this. We had an agent there, Amy Belchunas, who was with us. Well, she was with us up here. She moved down there. She joined some different companies. It didn't pan out for her. She calls me one day, June of 2020. She's like, hey, I miss being at the company. It was like 5 years ago right now. I miss being at the company. I miss the CRM. I miss the training. I'm like, well, you still get the training. I let you stay in the system. Yeah, but I miss the CRM. I'm like, so you're moving back? I'm thinking she's moving back. She's like, no, but I was thinking you always said you wanted to open in Florida. And I'm like, shit. I'm like, you're in Fort Lauderdale. Yeah. I'm like, I go back. I go see Sarah, our relocation VP. I'm like, what's our number one outgoing market in Florida? She's like, I'll visit you in a few minutes. I'll tell you. She comes down. She's like, Fort Lauderdale. Then I start thinking, I'm like, shit, when else am I going to have someone that I know, that I like, that I trust, that's been with us up here, that values the company, values being with me? And then I knew someone else. And so we started with 3 agents in October of 2020. And we got a ways to go before we have any big success there. But as of late, the last 6 months, we've recruited a bunch of real good new agents. We're working on 3 separate acquisitions, hopefully more soon, and hopefully some will come through. One thing that's changed because of prices going up so much is Fort Lauderdale, Miami was our number one outgoing market years back. Now it's more like Jupiter up to Orlando. People got priced out.
Yeah.
Really?
It's just too expensive.
They either go more north, they'll go like to Pompano, that area.
Correct.
Or they're going more inland for Parkland, right? Like Parkland is good prices.
And north, Palm Beach.
Yep.
And now Palm Beach, I mean, it's...
So how do you open up a new market? Like, do you have like a strategy or blueprint that you follow? Like you need a certain VP there, you need a certain person there. Like, do you have a certain strategy that you follow?
Marketing budget.
Yeah. Like budget?
So we do now. We have a playbook now. Before it was like... Let's go. Yeah. No, now we have a playbook, and we know, like, okay, it needs to have a certain amount of sales volume annually the day we start. Because one of the things that happens is, like, now people take us for real in market. So, like, Massachusetts, Southern New Hampshire, most of Connecticut, we come to town, the competitors, they might poo-poo what they say about us to their agents, but in their heads, they're like, all right, these guys are the real, just like I do when Coldwell Banker or Compass or KW, like I can try to find little things to poo-poo about them, but truth be told, they're all worthy, legitimate companies, right? So we come to town now, people are like, oh, they're legit. So they go to their agents, they offer them more perks, they do things to make sure they don't start talking to us. So when we go to a market, we have to have power from the beginning. We have to recruit people before we start and then open and say, hey, we're here.
That's a good tip, though.
Yeah.
That's a great tip. Like, you
starting
need presence
from,
before you get in there.
Oh, dude, starting from ground zero like we did in Florida, very hard. And growing contiguously is easy. Geographically contiguously is easier. Like when you just jump the map, because think about it, every branch office I have, the agents out of that branch sell in a 30, 40-minute radius.
Right.
So if I open an office 40 minutes away, now in both offices, we have agents crisscrossing the other offices, doing deals together, knowing each other. If I jump 3 hours away, some of the agents are like, wait, who? Lamacchia? Oh, yeah, no, I know them. It's harder because now we're trying to go into other geographies. We have Mass pretty well covered, though we're still not in
Do you have like
Boston.
territory areas? Like you can only sell in this territory? You
No.
can, It's
The
a free game.
Agents can sell wherever they want, yeah. I mean, they're independent contractors.
So the office is like each office is like a place for training and meeting and doing all that. Like,
Yeah,
it's like a
bringing
working
clients
place.
in,
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, the old, some of these new companies, more tech-driven. Oh, brick and mortar's dead. Well, no.
Right.
If you want to recruit top agents in a community and in the abutting communities, you need an office.
Right.
I mean, you need it.
I agree with that too.
Yeah.
I think that anyone from the Northeast has a competitive advantage when they go into markets like Florida, Texas, anywhere down south, because the agents down there are so fucking lazy and slow. Like when we dealt with, like the whole Florida, they're just very slow.
You're right.
It's all like divorced older ladies and, right? In Naples,
men,
in Naples, that's what it was. And all of a sudden you meet someone and they're like, wow, that person's good. You're like, where are you from? Chicago, New York, Boston, Rhode Island. Like that Northeast, like hustle down there kills it.
Well, so it's funny you say that. So with the consumer, you're right. It provides a big advantage for the realtors that will actually work like you just described.
Right.
For us recruiting realtors,
Oh, because they want to probably be pushed.
dude, they got palm trees everywhere, beautiful water.
Right.
It's pretty easy to go to training for an hour when you should be there 2 hours and be like, I'm sick of sitting here listening. I'm going to go home.
Yeah.
So for growing because remember, again, I have 2 audiences, realtors and consumers. 2. Consumer, you're right. It's easier to convert. It's easier to get their attention. Realtors, It's tougher. They're not. There's often not as many go-getters. There's people there that are middle-aged, tend to be financially more comfortable, and they're like, "Yeah, do I really need to go to this training?" Like I notice, I speak up here. I can speak for an hour and a half in a room of 300 people, and barely anybody goes to the bathroom, and barely checks their phone. Like I can, I can speak. I can't spell for shit, but like one thing I can do, I can speak to an audience. I do it a lot. Down there, I speak for 40 minutes. I see people checking their phones. I see them. Literally, I notice a difference. Wow. Same speech.
Culture.
Same speech, talking to realtors in both places. Now, maybe there's a little bit of reputation that's having an effect. Like here, they know I was the number one realtor in Massachusetts, 28 years old. They know we're on TV all the time. So maybe the respect level is higher here, but I'm telling you, same speech, 300 realtors here, 300 there. Holding people's attention down there is hard.
Yeah, it's a huge culture thing. It's crazy how each state, even sometimes each region, is that big of a culture shift. California to Texas, Texas to Florida.
It's known
certain
down
parts
there,
of Florida, East Coast to West Coast. Like it's so fucking different.
Yeah, no, it is.
How they talk, how they operate, their work ethic, construction
times, everything.
It's fucking nuts.
I want to go back a little bit again, right? So how did you go from you were an individual producer, right? The top seller in Massachusetts at age 28, right? How do you make that leap from that to start building a team? Because I know a lot of broker owners that we know along there, and there's like something that there's something. I mean, it might not be one moment, but like, what was it that helped you get push yourself?
Agent to like business owner almost, right?
Yeah. So for one, I always planned it.
That's
I always planned
it.
I always wanted what I wanted. I was always like, I knew, hey, this is my craft, but I'm a businessman. I'm an entrepreneur, right?
Yep.
So for one, you have to dominate. I mean, I see a lot of people, and now it's going the other way, and you alluded to this earlier, Valentino. A lot of people, when the market's hot, I'm going to start my own company. My stepbrother says, everybody wants to be a fucking business owner. That's what he says, right? He's right? He owns a cleaning company, Green Maids. So, but he says, everybody wants to be a business owner, and then they do it, and they're like, holy shit, this is way harder than I thought. Like, it's like beyond harder than people think. But when the market's hot and people are feeling good, they're like, I don't care. So I see people starting their own company when they sold 40 homes a year for 2 years. Dude, I was selling over 100 homes a year, year after year after year before we went out on our own. Hundreds when we went out on our own. So a lot of people put the cart before the horse. Like I had business coming out of everywhere before we went on our own. So when you talk about that leap, there's a number of things that have to happen. But number one, you got to be a dominant in your craft.
Yeah.
Number two, in my opinion, and if someone can do it without this, good for you. I couldn't. You got to be willing to give up some money and lose some money.
100%.
Like when you make that leap from practitioner with 2 assistants and you're putting most of the profit in your pocket to, no, I'm going to hire agents. They're going to handle the leads. Like think about it. 2009 and 10, if a buyer came to me and they wanted to buy a house and I take them out and I show them a house, $10,000 commission comes in, I can keep most of that 10 grand and put it in my pocket. Then I say, you know what, I'm going to hire an agent to do it, and the house is just going to keep half, just say, right? Well, all of a sudden, income's cut in half.
Right, exactly.
So you have to scale that thing up fast.
Right.
And we did, but it wasn't easy. And there was a valley in there where we got hit. There was a valley right in that time when I started bringing agents on. And then there was a second time that I hit a valley, which is when we went brokerage model. So stay with me on the time here, right? 2008, 9, 10, 11, more like 9, 10, 11, when I started bringing agents on and giving them the business, and maybe they'd keep 50% or 40 or whatever. There was still a good chunk of margin there.
Right.
But that was what you call a team model. That's when I produce the leads, I give it to the agent works the lead, it closes, the agent keeps maybe 50%. Fast forward 5 years, you go brokerage model, you're not going to recruit top agents with their own books of business if you're only paying them 50% on the deals that they do. It's not going to happen.
Right.
Like, and I get people, like, believe me, there'll be somebody that listens to this and they're like, he doesn't know what he's talking about. I have 2 people that do it. Okay, great. You have 2 people, dude.
Right.
And you know them. It's your sister's brother, like brother-in-law. Like, okay, you're getting away with it with 2 people. You are not going to get away with it at scale. You're not going to get away with it with people that work an hour away from you, 2 hours away from you. It's not going to happen because there's too many competitors calling them. So the second time I had to go through that was when we went brokerage model, 2015, 16. I went from having 30 agents-ish that were keeping maybe 50% of the commission to, wait, when they do a sale that's theirs, they're going to keep 70 or 80 or whatever the number, right? When you do that at scale, so your margin
Shrinks. Yep.
Now, what a lot of people do and why they struggle so much, and now I love watching them struggle, right? Love it. Because they struggle and they're like, well, I don't want to give up all that commission. So should I just take the clients? Then they take the clients, and the agents are like, well, why are you taking clients? I had a slow month last month. The office was slow, so I took them. I need the income. And the agent's like, what? I go to Lamacchia. I don't compete with Anthony. If any agent competes with me in the company, they're going to lose.
Right.
My name's all over the place. If I became a practitioner tomorrow, I start selling again. Within 6 months, I'm outselling everybody. It's not fair.
Right.
It's not fair at all. It's not because I'm great. It's because it's not a fair thing to do. Right. And it wouldn't work. I mean, it would work for selling a lot, but I'd deplete the company. Right. So that was the second time where it was like, okay, now I'm going to bring in droves of people with their own books of business, but they're going to keep the majority of the commission. So there was another valley in income right there.
Right.
And I had to just stomach it, and then you got to scale. And you got to scale when, you guys know. You hit that point of like, if we don't scale this thing, we got a fucking problem.
Yeah, the expenses are like, oh shit.
Yeah, you're looking at it right now as we speak.
We're in the middle of it.
Dude, I've been there those 2 times, and then even a year or 2 ago, we started taking on more companies. I'm like, all right, we got to get this thing to click, or we got a problem. And that's the thing. No one will ever understand what it is like to be a business owner until they are one.
Right.
They will never. And in their defense, how would they? The stress, the pressure is so beyond what anyone could explain or any layman that's never done it would comprehend that they'll just never get it.
Right.
They won't get it.
You have to be in it. You have to feel it.
It's so true because not a lot of people talk about it either as an entrepreneur.
What are you going to do? Walk around crying?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So people only see the good stuff. They don't see that until they're in it themselves,
100%. And then you have hires that don't work out. Or I recently said in an exec meeting, and I probably shouldn't say it on here, but I definitely shouldn't, but I will. Fuck it. we let's say we hire someone. When we hire them, we're like, hey, this is so-and-so, Joe Blow. He's amazing. He was great at his other company. We're excited to have him, right? Well, if that person doesn't work out for whatever reason and they leave, why did they leave? What happened?
Right. Brings up
What
red
happened?
flags.
I thought that person was amazing. Anthony said he was amazing. Well, what the hell am I going to say when I hire him? Hey, we heard this person's good, but I don't know. We'll see.
Well, fuck.
Yeah.
If they don't work out, hey, they're out of here. We'll see.
We'll see in a few months. Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
And those pressures, you can tell I've had some of that recently. I'm like, guys, can you just trust me here? The last 3 years in a row, we're #1 large company, top places to work, Boston Globe. Inc. 500, 12 years in a row, most growth. Fastest growing privately held brokerage in the country. All these stats, but then when there's one little thing,
They start questioning the whole.
it's like
fucking
Belichick.
thing.
Right.
And you have to be able to stomach that and continue forward on offense. And those are the parts that people don't get, and they won't get it. I remember Mitt Romney when he was running for president, and there was parts of Mitt I liked and parts I didn't, but I'll never forget he said, until you lay in bed at night and think about having to pay a payroll that feeds your employees' families and children, you'll never understand it.
Yep.
And he's
It's
right.
true.
So true. So
What a
true.
fucked up thing.
Yeah. And what a great, blueprint explanation of, from when you made that flip, right? That's as real
It's
as it gets.
granular.
Yeah.
I can explain a little more if you want me to.
Yeah.
So part of what you have to do is you have to set up everything so that it's systemized and it's automatic and consistent, and so that you can do it at scale. And that's what a lot of people do wrong. Is they're like, well, yeah, I'll get this on a system, and they get it on a system, whatever the system may be, for busy season. Busy season runs out. They're like, we don't need to do that system. I'll do it. You can't do that.
Right.
You can't do that. I mean, we're processing this month. Our accounting department will process 800 payments to agents.
Wow.
Probably 400 escrow checks, overages back to sellers, probably 30 vacation rentals, probably 100 rentals. We got to pay 80 employees. Then in the landscape company, we have 30 employees. They're doing tons of we're talking thousands of transactions. You can't do that unless you have it on an automatic system.
SOPs out the ass.
Right.
Oh,
Everything is an SOP.
and when you're the leader, you got to repeat, so people get it.
Yeah. And that makes the value of the company more, right? When you have
100%.
SOPs, KPIs, you can't run a rinky-dink operation, and expect to have, enterprise value in the business.
Correct, 100%. And you reach a point, and we're past there now. But you got to make sure the place can run without you.
Exactly.
Like I went parasailing with my daughter in Turks and Caicos a month ago. I remember being up there being like, imagine if something happened. Just say.
When you were up there, you were like, "Ah, this thing fell."
I mean, we were having fun, but I had a moment of like, well, it's a good thing that I really, really trust our executive team. Like our chief operating officer, Jackie, like she can run the day-to-day of the company. Our head of finance, Sarah, I started the company with her. They can run the day-to-day. Now, are they going to grow and do all these wild things and occasionally put their foot down to the extent that I sometimes have to? No. But the day-to-day, 100% can run without me.
Right.
Like we could go on in this podcast for the next 3 hours and nothing changes in the day-to-day of our company.
Right.
And that's a tough bridge to cross when you're building a company. Very, very few get over it.
I feel like that's the goal of every company. That's what the goal.
But they
should
don't
be.
get to it.
But it should
It's
be that.
so hard
it's
to get
so
to it.
fucking hard. Like if you just removed yourself, would this train keep going?
Right.
Yeah.
Or do I have to be here to point out every fucking problem and get pissed off
Yeah,
every 2 minutes?
that getting to that point is like is when it gets fun, I think, too, for a business owner, because now you're really thinking high level, crazy
Yeah.
ideas, you know,
And that's what I spend most
pushing
of my
the
day
growth. you
I
know.
feel like that's where dad could never get past. Like my dad always got so like consumed by the problems, and he could never like systemize things to then elevate himself.
Well, it was
to
an
work
old
on the
school
business.
mentality where it's like you got
Right.
to do it yourself, you know, which is
Same with
honestly-
my dad.
Exactly. That's like 95% of businesses
Right.
out there that
Correct.
that operate that way. That they're the ones doing the work. Like they're the ones with the belt on if you're a plumber or whatever it is.
And there's still a great role for that. Like there's small businesses that could stay like that, make a great living, live a happy life. Like that's an awesome life. But
Exactly.
when people really want to get to the next level, like you said, you have to make that jump.
But to
that
get
leap.
to the level, you know, the business level that he's at, it's an absolutely impossible. If you were still doing open houses and selling, like,
No, it's impossible.
forget about it, you know?
yeah, it's
way.
not possible.
No, you're 100% right. In what you said, Angelo, is a fact. That's most businesses. I mean, it is. I can't explain how difficult it is to build a large company. Like I can't. It is. And I love what Elon says, and I know now Elon's like, I don't know, there's all kinds
Off
of
the
drama.
reservation.
But I don't give a shit about who, you know, I always say that with politics too. I'm like, I learn from these people. You know, the day after Trump beat Biden, I did a video saying like, all right, the country's going to move on. Like, you can learn a ton from these people.
Big time.
But Elon says, don't be a business owner unless you're willing to eat glass day after day for years.
He's a fucking nutcase. Like
That's such a
Animal.
true statement.
It's
Dude,
true.
animal.
how could he like his brain? He's a generational. His like you're gonna look. They're gonna read books about him like hundreds of years. He's gonna be the like. How did he do what he does?
Well, dude, we each you know built like decently like large companies like for this area, right? He has like 6, I think,
International,
major companies.
International.
He founded, I believe, 4 multi-billion-dollar revenue a year companies.
Right.
Like I can't even
Major
put
things.
into words how difficult that is to do.
Right.
I met one of his co-founders of PayPal back years ago, and I asked him about Elon. He was like, "You've never met. He's a generational human being. Like you've never met." The
I
guy's
believe.
name was Ken something. He was one of the co-founders, like with those like 4 co-founders. He's like, "You'll never meet someone
I heard
like him
like
in your life."
I heard the group of founders. They were known as like the PayPal Mafia, I guess. Like all those guys, the original founders of PayPal. I think one was Peter Thiel, one was
Yeah.
Elon. Like there was like a group of them. And they all went to go do great things. Like I think one of them founded YouTube. Like all
Probably,
the
dude.
main founders went off and did crazy things.
No, it's really wild. And I mentioned him at my annual Crush It in Real Estate event this winter, which, by the way, I want all you guys to come to next year. We do an annual Lamacchia Realty event in the morning, awards and recognition and all that. And then in the afternoon, we do what's called a Crush It in Real Estate event. And we have competitors in, other agents in. And this year, it snowed that morning, so we had like 850 people. And I mentioned on stage, I was talking about time management, and I was explaining that time management is the number one reason that I see that realtors don't grow their businesses. And truth be told, it's the number one reason business owners don't grow their business. And a great coach of mine, which you guys should all look him up, John Cheplak, he calls it choice management. But while I was on stage, I said, guys, I have the same amount of time in a day that you do. But you guys ask me if I sleep. I sleep every night. Like I sleep fine. 3 nights a year, I don't sleep good because of a stress, right? I'm like, look at Elon Musk. You talk about time management. Dude, he's maybe the greatest time manager in history. And of course, I ended up finding out someone in the crowd was like, oh, I hate this event because he likes Elon. I'm like, what?
How can you not at least tip your hat to him?
Dude, it's
What a
like at
jerk.
least
this is
just
what's
like,
wrong with our
okay.
country, though.
Right.
Like, if I say, yeah, Obama's probably the best political speaker I've ever seen. You hate Trump, you love Obama, screw you. I'm like, how do you know
he
where
was
I
an
stand?
unbelievable
Dude.
No.
And then Trump, like, oh, you can learn a lot from Trump. I mean, the guy has 22,000 employees, an international billionaire businessman,
Right.
and a president. You can learn a lot. You like Trump, I hate you. I'm like, dude, what is wrong with you
Yeah,
people?
just find a way to like
What
yeah.
the?
Have respect
Yeah,
for what
like-
they've done.
Right.
It's wild how people act. It's like,
I guarantee you those people have never done shit. That's why.
well, that's
Right.
part of the issue.
They're
'Cause
just judgmental fucks are where they are.
they just, yeah, I really like this guy. This guy and my dad like should start hanging out
yeah.
tomorrow.
That's what they think I'm like my dad. They
yeah,
think
no,
I'm the
we
closest
say
like
he-
my dad.
Yes. He got
Are
like
you
all
the middle?
I'm the youngest.
I'm in the middle.
Ah. What do you think about all this? You've been kind of quiet.
I'm usually quiet. You know,
Yeah?
I pick my spots. It's hard
But
to
he's the
get-
most
It's
consistent
hard to get
discipline.
anything in over these two guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause
yeah.
him and
I
I are
accepted my
similar.
fate.
But he's the most consistent and disciplined by far.
Yeah.
Like just fucking sturdy, like the tortoise, you know.
Yeah.
And then we'll go in spurts and then
Yeah,
drop.
hard.
Like he'll
hard.
gain 100, lose 100.
I've gained 100 and lost 100 pounds 3 times in 1 year before.
Oh
Yes.
my dude, that's not healthy.
No. Kind of
Just to
impressive
prove
though.
that it could be
Oh, you
done.
look good.
Yeah.
Is this the new you? This is consistent.
This has been where I've been at. Like I'm at like
Good.
316 this morning.
dude,
so that's where I've
come
been.
come down and work out with me in the mornings. Energy and fitness, martial arts. On
Dude, I've been
Mass
seeing you
Ave.
doing like jujitsu and shit in the morning.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai.
We just finished talking about how our bodies don't.
Yeah, and you're doing flips on a mat.
Yeah.
You have that
I-
cauliflower ear. Are you going to come in?
No,
with
I
cauliflower
wear
ear?
headgear and they all laugh at me. But I'm like, I don't want to get cauliflower ear. But yeah, I wrestled in high school and that kind of set me on a path for martial arts.
Yeah.
I have a question. When you find someone that is not reaching your culture standard, when do you hit a point where you double down on that person to try to fix it or cut bait?
It's hard.
Because we run into that a bit.
I think it's situational. You know, it depends. Like, are they in a role in the company that their lack of cultural fit is going to spread? Because it will spread like a disease. But it depends. Like, are they a tech person that works in a cube that doesn't
Like a
mix
loner?
Yeah, and I'll let them get away with it if they're good at their job. But if there's someone that's front and center and in the public and they just have a piss poor attitude or they have negative attitude, like that's a problem. And we're
Even
going
if
to
they're a
tell
high
them.
producer.
Oh, wait, you're talking about agents or staff?
Anything
I don't know.
both. Talking about anyone in general. It could be a culture shifter. It could be a regular person. Like even if it's a lower level agent, that person, you see opportunity in that person. When is your time not worth doubling down on that person rather than cutting
It depends.
bait?
If they're a troublemaker, that we don't have much patience. I don't care if they're a top producer. You know, they'll get a warning or two, and then it's like later. Like we're not scared of that.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
It
We
is
don't
what it is.
enjoy. I don't enjoy that. But you have to protect your culture. You have to. And if that means that you take 3 steps forward, and then to protect your culture, you got to take 1 back or 1.5 back. Oh well.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell are you going to do? You can't, the culture, having a good culture and having good people that care about clients and care about one another and, you know, give a shit about the greater good, that's a non-negotiable.
Right.
It's a must.
Yeah.
If someone asks you like, hey, what's the 3 main points of your culture that you define your guys' culture as, what would it be?
I would say, you know, being helpful to one another is important to me, you know, caring about one another, being ethical, you know, I mean,
Ethical is huge.
yeah, because if we get someone who's not that talented, like we see that, right? They're not that good at working the phone scripts, or maybe they're not that good at the tech, but they're like a really good person and they're trying hard. I'll take those people all day.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll take them all. Give me 10 of those.
Right.
You know, versus someone who's a superstar but thinks they're the shit and causes problems.
Right.
I'll take the hard worker all day.
Yeah.
You know?
Even in sports, that was the same.
Yeah.
I remember when I played football in college, there's always like this high recruit that came in, but he was cocky as shit, not a hard worker. Then you have the blue nose kid that came from New Jersey who didn't have a lot of offers. He came in, just worked his fucking balls off, and that guy always outproduced the star that came in like a scumbag with that attitude. You know.
I'll tell you, when I wrestled in high school, there was a kid in the team. I was a senior. The first year they ever had wrestling at my school, sadly, was my senior year. So I only got to do it 1 year competitively, unfortunately. And there was a young kid on the team who, this kid had talent. Like, he went out and he won his first couple matches, and we were like, wow, he's good. But he had a horrible attitude. He didn't show up. Dude, like 2 weeks into season, my coach, who's one of my closest friends in the world to this day, kicked him off the team. Wow. And we were a brand new program.
Wow.
And I was like, what the hell? And I didn't know him well enough. I didn't say shit at the time. But when I graduated high school and then him and I would get together to lift weights, I asked him one year and he's like, Anthony, I couldn't. If I put up with that, you all would have noticed and everybody'd be missing practice. And I was like 21, 22 when I asked him about that. But I get it. And, to this day, I mean, he came to our martial arts school 2 weeks ago and I was like his helper and we put on like a stand-up wrestling class for the fighters and stuff. It was fun. But you learn from those examples.
It's crazy how a sports team and a business can be compared.
Oh, it's
Like the coaches to the quarterback,
locker room.
to the culture, to the locker room, to the standards, to the work ethic. It's so like, I feel like every kid growing up needs to be like thrown into a sport.
I agree.
Like
with that.
like it'd be like a mandatory thing. You learn so much how to be coachability, how to be a good teammate. Because to be a good teammate is to be a good employee, to be a role player in certain situations. Like it's so fucking important.
So it's funny you say that. I have 4 kids. They're 17 and a half, 15, 14, and 8. And I just, in the last 6 months, I'm like, all this sports effort has been worth it. And don't get me wrong, I've been happy along the way, and I love it. But like the last 6 months, I see things, particularly with the 2 oldest ones, that I'm like, the sports are really gonna parlay to life. My daughter is an example playing field hockey. She's the oldest, and I'm like, all those Saturday mornings getting up early to drive or driving far, My boys now in basketball tournaments, Saturday nights, 9:00 games, like it's worth it.
Yeah.
It keeps you out of trouble too.
Oh, hell yeah.
For me,
Yeah.
a lot of my friends in middle school and that age, a lot of them passed away. They were just bad kids, end up going one bad direction one way, right? And I could have been one of those kids. You could have been one of those kids with your group of friends too.
Yeah.
But we stuck with our sports. We stuck with our tribe.
Where'd you guys grow up again?
Reading.
Reading, that's right.
Nice.
I fucking hated losing to you guys in football. We beat you guys 1 year.
Watertown?
Watertown.
Oh, dude, we kick the shit out of
You guys,
Watertown every
dude,
year.
you guys beat us every single year. My freshman year, we beat you. It was the greatest day. But I'm still pissed off about it, to be honest. And it was amazing. You guys had a savage coach. This is the late 90s.
Coach Kaz.
Oh my God.
Kazazak.
Ripping
Yelling and screaming all the time.
ripping butts.
Yeah, he was nuts.
Yeah.
But he was impressive, and he knew what he was doing. And you guys, I mean, I remember this kid Collins. He ran by me one time in the field going like 30. I'm like, who is this kid? And then there was another kid from Reading on the hockey team, Saviano.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he played with my buddy.
Yeah.
But you guys, good sports program.
Yeah,
in
it
Reading.
was awesome.
Yeah.
It was a great sports town. And every year we were in the running. It was like you were
Yeah.
We won a Super Bowl my year. We should have won 2.
What year was that?
2009, 2010.
Oh, you're that much younger than me. Wow.
Yeah, we were number 1 in the state.
I vaguely remember that. What position did you play?
I was a running back in high school. College, I moved to like a fullback hybrid.
Okay.
Like put 20 pounds on and like break your nose on that guy. That was my role.
That was your position.
Yeah.
That's cool.
pure
Okay.
meathead roll.
Yeah, meathead roll. I hate to see it.
All right, so final question. We're out of time. I could talk all day.
Wow, we
I mean,
went
this
all-
is- I know. This is great. I love
Well,
this
there's so many.
conversation.
There's so many. You're killing it in a time where so many people are struggling in that industry. It's like there's so many questions you can.
Well,
ask.
and don't get me wrong here. Like, we're not perfect. I mean,
No, of course.
you
No,
I
know,
know,
I mean, we're not perfect. We have the financial struggle right now too with like acquiring companies and spending money on furniture and new offices and all that, and trying to make sure to bring in enough scale and sales to make it work. Like, it is not easy.
Right.
Not.
What is one piece of advice? Now, this is always something that we end with, right? So what is one piece of advice that you could give an entrepreneur, whether it's in real estate or not, that's starting off, that you can pass on to them that you think it might be a very valuable piece of advice?
Work harder and smarter. When I hear people say, don't work harder, just work smarter, I'm like, that's bullshit.
Right.
Like, you need to do both. You need to do both. Like, if you work 8 hours a day, which I don't think I've ever done that in my life, how the hell are you going to beat the guy that's working 15 hours a day?
Right.
I don't care how much talent you have. It's not going to happen. So my motto is, I'm always on offense. I'm always working harder, and I'm trying to work smarter.
Do you think mentorship is a way to work smarter? Like to learn from, if you're 21 years old and they go to someone like you and say, hey, can I just work under your wing for 6 months? Can you mentor me for 6 months?
If they can pull it off. I mean, I'll tell you something that I noticed when I first started the company. Like, there were other business owners that I look up to even to this day that are friends that, like, when I first got it going, they were like really friendly to me and helpful. And now I'm like, where'd they go?
fuck are they? Yeah.
Where'd they go? Well, what happened was I built the company bigger than they expected, and they were hoping to acquire us before we got big, and now they realize, wait, he's not acquirable.
Correct.
At least at this stage of my life. I'm 44 years old. My kids are young. 20 years. Let's see what happens.
Right.
Right.
You know?
On the acquisition on the real estate stuff, what do you, is there like an EBITDA number?
Yeah, but it depends. It depends. Is it a location we're trying to get into? Do we already have a bunch of realtors in an office 20, 30 minutes away that are dying for us to open in this area? So like if we do, then I'm willing to,
Play ball.
play ball. If not, and if I'm not that into it, then we pay less. But generally speaking, in our business, it's like a 3 to 5 multiple on EBITDA.
Okay, so there's an
Okay.
EBITDA
So there's a
number.
general-
Yeah, I mean, in a peak market,
Yeah.
you hear people getting 6, but not now.
Right.
I mean,
All right, we're gonna wrap up here. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thans very much for having me, guys. Seriously,
Yeah,
I
this is awesome.
really appreciate it. You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.